We are live. Welcome in, everybody, to this week's stream of a Rookie Origins Chaos Draft on the FastDraft Best Ball platform. I'm not joined by Connor Allen this week, as for the past couple of weeks leading up to the draft. Connor was joining me, but this week, very special guest. It's the man himself. It's Ryan McDowell. How are we doing today, Ryan?
Doing great, man. Glad to be on here with you. Drafting rookies is always fun, and this is a great and pretty easy platform to do that. So yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I think that this is the most exciting part of this new fast draft thing for me. And a lot of best ball people were like, oh, you can go in, it does really quick. You don't have to do a full like 15, 18 rounds or whatever. But then just drafting rookies only, I think really it gravitated, of course, to me. It gravitates probably to a lot of other dynasty people of just like we just get to talk about all of these guys that we've been analyzing and trying to figure out who's who and who's a sleeper, who might not be so great for the past couple of months. And that's the only player pool that we got to care about. So I love this format a lot after drafting it over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, same here. Of course, we had the NFL draft last week, and I mean, we were all high. If you're a dynasty player, a crazy like we are, you were so excited to see all the landing spots, all the movement, players gaining value and losing value. And then, like Sunday morning rolled around, and I just wanted to draft. I wanted to draft as soon as possible, and for different reasons, I didn't have any rookie drafts lined up. I've got some rookie auctions. Those are a little bit different, obviously very different from this. I also didn't have very much money in those, kind of a bummer. But the leagues I'm in that do have the rookie draft format are in the off season, and I didn't want to wait. I wanted to draft now, so I jumped in a couple of these, and we're going to do another one here.
Yeah, we got 4 slots still waiting to fill. So if you guys are interested and you haven't signed up yet for Fast Draft, you can use the promo code DLF. You'll get a deposit match for up to $50. And then you can go in and play in this Origins Chaos 2, I believe is where we're at right now, because they had the original one that filled. They dropped another one before the draft that filled. And now we're on to this one, which I think is also at like a 90% fill rate right now. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think these have a max of sorry, Addison. I think these have a max of 16. Yep, actually says it there on the screen. So I've got several to go. I'm gonna try to max this thing out before it fills.
Yeah, of course. And then you also got the Flex 4, which is just the normal best ball. All of the NFL players are in that one. The IDP one I think is interesting for any IDP players out there. I'm not an IDP person myself, but I might throw my hand at it. We'll see. I might it's something fun, something different to do. So you have all of those different options at your disposal here for this fast draft format. We got here for the memes is in the chat here with the $2 super chat. You guys are great. Go Jets. Thank you very much, man, for the support here. So yeah, we're waiting for this contest to fill, essentially. You said you've done a couple of these already. Do you like your teams?
Yeah, I mean, we have rose-colored glasses when it comes to these rookies right after the draft. I think I've actually done just one so far. So like I said, some work to do here. I got Travion Henderson in the first round of that one. We had the Jets fan there. Mason Taylor was my second round pick. I think he was second or third, but yeah, I think you always kind of like your team in these, and until the season rolls around and your favorite rookie is somehow third string or something like that. But in April and May, we're always loving those rookie heavy teams, and obviously that's what we're going to have in this format.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because every year we talk about how, and you do a lot of work too, just from a dynasty and fantasy perspective of looking at how these rookies, their value changes, month to month, essentially in their rookie year, then from before their rookie season to after their rookie season. And that we usually have a handful of really good rookie contributors every year at multiple positions. I mean, we've had a rookie tight end finish as the tight end 1 overall in each of the past 2 seasons. Not sure if that's going to happen this year with the landing spots, but there are rookie contributors every single year from a fantasy football perspective. And if you can find a couple of these Yeah, obviously you get like a guy in the first round, but then if you can hit on a couple of these second, third, or even fourth rounders, find this year's Bucky Irving in this format. I mean, that's
Right.
massive. That would be how could win the whole entire thing essentially.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what everybody's hunting for in Dynasty, the next Bucky Irving, and there's not one every year, of course. If there were, it'd be a little bit easier probably, but yeah, hitting on those late round guys, mid round guys, that's the story of success in almost every format of fantasy football, and here in the Origins DFS game, it's not going to be any different. The first round, most likely, at least we think we're going to get a player that's going to contribute right away and be successful. But when we get those top 10, 12 rookies, certainly in the short term, that's where things get a little murkier.
Do you have some favorite later round guys that you're looking to target in like the third or fourth rounds of rookie drafts, and then guys that you would be looking to target in here as well for 2025?
Yeah. I mean, I think so many running backs. And of course, that's kind of been the big story of this class is the strength of the running back position. So many of those guys landed in positions where they looked like they could be the primary backup or even be part of a committee early on. Here we are, we're I'm scrolling here and we're down in the 20s of the rankings. Bashal Tutin in Jacksonville certainly could be a contributor there. A little bit of a crowded backfield with Bigsby and ETN, but also a lot of questions with those guys. A new staff who handpicked Tutin there in I think he was early day three. It's already foggy to me, but yeah.
This
so
is Bucky Irving. That's who Tutin is.
It might be obviously the Liam Cohen connection. That's what a lot of people are looking at Tutin to be. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to those running backs. There's another one, Devin Neal, ranked 28th overall in this format based on the default ranking. So you kind of think of him maybe as that early third round option. Kendre Miller, I mean, his time in New Orleans has been a disaster so far. Alvin Kamara is not going anywhere. We know that mostly due to the cap situation, along with just of course his talent and what he's been able to do throughout his career. But Neal there, I think is going to have a chance to play right away. And when you're talking late second, early third round of this format, that's super valuable.
Yeah, I see Jaden Blue is down in there as well. Are you team Jaden Blue for that Cowboys backfield?
Man, I really wasn't pre-draft. Really not one of the running backs I was planning on targeting. Obviously, you like the landing spot. Didn't get the draft capital that some predicted, and of course Dallas did not focus on the running back position as early as many expected. Really, everyone expected. So this is kind of a tough one. I mean, it's hard to side with Javonte Williams or Miles Sanders there. They both certainly feel like they're done. So, I mean, if Jaden Blue's falling to that range, 31 overall is what he is here, then absolutely willing to grab him there. I don't like him in the second round, though.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, Ryan, but I've been advocating for the other Cowboys rookie running back that they drafted this year.
I have seen that. Yeah, well, he's a big boy, and I would say he and Blue would actually are pretty well together. I don't think you look at either of those guys and think that they're going to be an every down type back. But yeah, Maffa from Clemson is a big dude and certainly going to be an asset in that short yardage situation, maybe even some goal line work, depending on what happens with those two veterans ahead of the young guys. But yeah, Dallas just continues to be an odd situation to figure out for fantasy. It looked like such clear needs at a running back receiver, and they essentially ignore both spots for most of the draft.
Did they even take a receiver? I actually am. Did they even take one?
I don't think they took a receiver at all. They took of course took the 2 running backs. So I don't think they took a pass catcher at all, and they were rumored to be in on a tight end as well. That's what happens. A team like the Cowboys, and there's plenty of others like them. They end up with so many needs, and especially from us fantasy guys, like, of course they're taking a running back and a receiver. Those need to be their first 2 picks. In fact, there were lots of mock drafts that went exactly that way. Ted McMillan, and then Judkins in second. We saw tons of that pre-draft, and but they clearly have a lot of needs. Their O-line, which was best in the league just a few years ago, is really in shambles. Their defense obviously has been a weak point over the past years as well. So, clearly they focused on those other needs. The only surprise for me, or the big surprise for me when it comes to how they handled the draft from those skill positions, is they weren't more aggressive in free agency. If this was the plan, and Sanders and Javonte they bring in, but they even let Brandon Cooks go, who was a decent number 2 when he was healthy. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, but the Cowboys moves often don't.
Yeah. You got to think that when we see Rico Dowdle signing for a $6 million contract with the Panthers, you're just got you're picking Javonte over $6 million, an extra couple million for Rico, who just rushed for 1,000 yards the year before. It is certainly. It is. Anyway, we can move on. We don't got to keep harping on the woes of the Dallas Cowboys. Still waiting on a couple spots. We've been chilling at these 4 slots to fill.
Yeah, 10 here, guys.
10 minutes. Sheesh. What are we waiting for, guys? Not a good time apparently.
Maybe not a hot spot on time. But yeah, the info's all right there on the screen. If you're not using FastDraft already, there's the code DLF. Use that for up to a $50 match. Looks like we got a couple of bites here, Addison. Jamie and Christian.
Christian. Yeah. Christian. So specifically, you can download the app is called FastDraft. That you can download on the Apple Store, the Google Play Store, assuming that you're in a state where it is legal, which I think is a good majority of the U.S. It's not legal where I live, but it is legal where Ryan lives.
Legal in Kentucky, legal in in most states, as Addison said.
Just not PA. That's all right. That's all right.
I see Jim James waiting here, Addison. What do you think? 49ers, Jordan James. Of course, CMC sounds like he's healthy.
Yeah, I saw that.
I like Jordan James.
I think that he's interesting. I'm not sure if he's better than Isaac Guerendo. He's certainly not more explosive than Guerendo. But I saw that CMC was doing this like stem cell thing that Kittle did a couple years ago. And then Kittle hasn't had any issues since over the past couple of years. So maybe this is like the secret formula for Christian McCaffrey to actually stay healthy. But I think Jordan James it could be a very interesting name in this format as well. You look at Jarquez Hunter, I think wouldn't be a bad pick either. I was a pretty big fan of him. Hate that he went as the RB3 behind Blake Corum, but Woody Marks is down in there. Taj Brooks, I think, could just outright win that RB2 role over Zach Moss and Cincy. Trevor Etienne isn't necessarily, a bad pick either. Will Howard at 50 overall. You got to imagine that ADP is a lot higher than that.
Yeah, that one surprised me too. I know obviously fell to day 3, and as much as quarterback was the story of the draft for different reasons, Will Howard was kind of overlooked. It's hard to ignore the landing spot. We're still waiting on old man Rodgers to make his decision, but right now the competition, I know the Steelers fan over here is kind of frustrated by this for a lot of reasons, but Yeah, right now the competition is Mason Rudolph, and I don't think Will Howard's going to come in and start week 1, but I mean, we've seen crazier things.
Yeah, I personally think that Will Howard should be given a shot at some point this year, especially if the Aaron Rodgers thing doesn't work out, which I don't want them to sign Aaron Rodgers, but I think we should go into the season with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, and then if the chips end up falling their way and a quarterback class next year that has some very interesting names that are like 5 or 6 deep,
Yeah,
without including Arch and Nico, I think that would be just from a Steelers perspective, in my opinion, would be better, but they seem to be too prideful to tank at all. So, but I think Will Howard could have an opportunity this year if he is actually being drafted in the 4th or 5th rounds of this format. I think that is an insane value. He might honestly be the second most productive quarterback in this rookie class this year. I don't think that's out of the range of possibilities, depending on how many snaps Dart gets in New York, or if they play Russ or Jameis to any extent.
right.
Shador has an opportunity. I think another depth chart that certainly doesn't seem too difficult to climb if he's as good as what he believes he is. But that the Browns could still be the Browns. Tyler Shuck, who knows? Maybe he gets more starts with Derek Carr's injury. Maybe Jalen Moreau comes in for a struggling Sam Darnold, but I don't think that we should just be overlooking Will Howard just because of the draft capital compared to some of these other quarterbacks, because he might have just as good of an opportunity this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, what you're kind of bringing there and going over the quarterbacks is one of the challenges of this format, because it is, it is 2025 only essentially, but it's all rookie. So I would think this would appeal mostly to dynasty players who are already heavy into those, the rookie class. So there's some players that we have to shift, because certainly there are guys that we like in the dynasty format, but their 2025 outlook might not be that great. So kind of a default ranking of Ward and then Dart and then, Shador or Milrow or however it goes from there could really get shaken up with Shuck and the Ohio State kid. I'm already blanking. Howard. Howard climbing the ranks there and maybe overtaking, even Jackson Dart.
Let's not forget Dylan Gabriel either. I mean, the first Browns
quarterback. Yeah.
I think the other interesting part of this too is that there are 6 rounds, but every single week only the top 4 guys are being scored. So I think you have the ability to take shots on guys in the 5th or 6th that they might not be impactful for the entire season, but if it's a rookie running back that is a handcuff that gets 3 or 4 starts throughout the year, that could be a guy that's like supplementing you in and throughout the season. If it's a rookie quarterback that maybe doesn't play until week 14 and then the season's over for that team and they just say, hey, let's see what we got in this kid to see if we know if we need to invest in this position or not. He starts the last 3-4 weeks of the year. That could also be impactful too. And I think that the multipliers at the end of this, that they default to the round that you've picked with 2 1.75 1.5x, you can change those all the way up until the start of the season. So if you draft a guy like Will Howard in the 5th round, but then he ends up being the day 1 starter for Pittsburgh, and that by training camp, you could slide him up to that 1.5, 1.75 multiplier, and that could be a huge difference to the production of your roster and your build versus some other people's builds.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a huge piece. And another really cool feature of this, you talk about just how deep the drafts are. And I think this is, if nothing else, this is going to be really good practice for dynasty players waiting for their rookie drafts, because, I don't know what your leagues are like, Addison. Most of my rookie drafts are 3 or 4 rounds. I don't think I have any that are 6 rounds. So we scroll to the bottom of this list, and honestly, I mean, we're getting into a lot of players who are undrafted free agents in the NFL. getting to some players that, quite frankly, I've never heard of. So, really, it gives you a reason to study up, if nothing else. I did want to ask you though, with Pittsburgh, you were talking about Howard. Let's stick with Pittsburgh because I need to know your thoughts as a Steelers fan on Caleb Johnson.
Oh, love me some Caleb Johnson. I think he slides right into that
good,
Najee
good,
Harris
good.
role. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
good. This is what I wanted to hear.
Yep. I think he slides right into the Najee role, and I would not be surprised if he's more productive than what Najee has been over the past couple of years, because I think that he's just got a little bit more juice. I mean, certainly if you're comparing Caleb's 21 years old and Najee's like 26, almost 27 at this point, so there is an age factor there that Caleb just might inherently have more juice than Najee has had over the past year or two. But I think that, Caleb slides right into that role. I think Jaylen Warren is a nice RB2, but I think that Warren has always been a guy that the fantasy and dynasty community have just liked a lot more than the Steelers organization has. And I don't think I don't think he's going to be anything different than what he's been over the past couple of years to infringe upon Caleb Johnson and, like I said, the Najee role that he should be getting. So I'm all in. He's an easy first rounder for me in rookie drafts this year.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah, I'm excited about him as well. Better pass catcher than he's given credit for. Just really more athletic in general than I think a lot of people realize. So, not just a big bruiser. So yeah, I'm excited to see him there in Pittsburgh. Didn't get the draft capital further than a lot of us expected. Was not one of the top 5 running backs drafted. But still, I think the landing spot makes up for all of that, honestly.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they saw his 40 time at the combine, it was a 4.57.
Yeah,
and they're just kind of like, "Ooh, like that's not what you want to see." But he's 224 pounds. Like that was the
speed score still pretty good.
It was a 103 speed score. That is better than Dylan Sampson, who ran a 4.46. That is better than Taj Brooks, who ran, a 4.52, but at 10 pounds lighter. That is not too far behind Jarquez Hunter, who ran a 4.44. Not too far behind Travion, who ran a 4.43 at 202 pounds. He has a 105 speed score to Caleb Johnson's 103. Like that, when you're 224 pounds moving like that, that is definitely, I think, a lot faster than what people just want to give him credit for, because they just see the raw number of 4.57 and just say slow.
Yeah. Easy to do that. Looks like we need one more.
I'm curious on your thoughts on this one. This is what Jamie said in the chat. He says he's been debating Caleb versus Harvey in that late first round range of drafts. The upside of Harvey is there with the Broncos landing spot, of course, and better draft capital than Caleb. But Caleb just feels safe, but also worried that Caleb's safe floor is like 20 for 75 without a touchdown. It's like, 7 to 10 points maybe if he catches a pass or two. So how do you feel about the Caleb versus Harvey debate?
Yeah, that's fair. I still prefer Caleb, and maybe that's a little bit of take lock, because that's reflects my pre-draft rankings. Of course, Harvey gets drafted before. Harvey goes to the best landing spot possible for a running back, in my opinion, this year, which was Denver. But Pittsburgh was second. I think those were the two I was really focused on for the running back class. I'll take Caleb, but yeah, it's certainly super close. And honestly, so close that maybe this quarterback decision, or lack of a decision, I guess, could affect that, because when a situation like that is that close, sometimes the tiebreaker is just which offense, which coaching staff do you trust more? And as of right now, Denver probably gets that nod as far as the offense. I feel better about.
I mean, you got Sean Payton, you got Bo Nix, an actual quarterback. There's the opportunity there in terms of perhaps a bigger target share for RJ Harvey if he's, they just have Cortland Sutton. They drafted Pat Bryant. They have Mims and Vele, and they add Evan Ingram, but we know the target share is definitely there in a Sean Payton offense too. And with the lack of kind of other weapons at the receiver position, just in general, at least compared to Pittsburgh having DK and Pickens now, and Freiermuth, and Roman Wilson, their second round pick coming back this year.
Yeah.
Those things I think certainly can go towards Harvey's favor. Joel brought up the fact that Harvey at 24 years old is maybe something that we in Dynasty don't love to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Another piece that definitely needs to be part of the puzzle. A couple of years ago, that would have been like now in Dynasty, would have been off the draft board for a lot of Dynasty managers as a 24-year-old rookie. But obviously, time changed. Really, still impact from COVID, from NIL and portal, and just all the changes that have happened in college football. So a 24-year-old rookie is, certainly not the norm, but not as big of a deal as it was a few years ago, or as it would have been a few years ago. But that doesn't mean we ignore it. I mean, Caleb Johnson is one of the youngest players in the draft, and RJ Harvey is one of the oldest relevant players in the draft. So yeah, that has to be the puzzle too.
I had to look it up. Najee Harris he just signed a contract this year at 27 years old, and he was a year younger than RJ Harvey coming out of college. So if that puts any perspective on where Harvey's going to be at in 4 years, that's
well. Yeah, Jamie made a good point as well, that he took Caleb and Harvey fell a little bit further, and he was able to get him in the second round. I think that's going to be something that we see again, because we're kind of holding on to those pre-draft takes. We meaning the big the community in general, valued Caleb Johnson ahead of Harvey, like ahead. Honestly, Harvey kept showing up as everyone's favorite sleeper, and ends up going ahead of Caleb Johnson, going on day 2 solidly. And certainly he's been one of probably the biggest riser in comparing pre-NFL draft, rookie drafts or rookie mocks to what we've been seeing over the past several days since the draft. But at the same time, people are not willing to move him up that much just as a result of that landing spot. So I think if you're talking about one of these guys could fall to that 2-2, 2-3, 2-4 spot, I think it's Harvey instead of Johnson.
Vic's got an interesting question here. It's still with the Harvey discussion, but then we've also got the wide receivers in here. He's a contender thinking RJ Harvey, but it hurts to draft a 24-year-old. He's debating with Burden and Ibuka as well. And then he also said Harvey feels too much like CEH. And everybody remembers taking CEH over JT. Oof.
Yeah.
Guilty.
I was unfortunately.
I took JT one pick later.
I was guilty
in the one draft
well.
I took CEH. I took CEH at 101, and then I took JT at 102. I was like, I just had to do it. So
yeah,
I still got
it hurts. I took CEH in at least one league as well at that 1-1 spot. Which, that I don't even want to talk about that. But I mean, I get it. We're talking about a player with a major jump, essentially just because of landing spot. But this was a player that, as I said, so many people were in on as that sleeper, that favorite guy who could be a post-draft, and they were exactly right. As far as Harvey versus the wide receivers, it definitely hurts to take. I talked about this on the DLF podcast. It hurts to take that day 2 running back over the day 1 wide receiver. But if you're a contender, I'm taking Harvey. I think he's going to give you the most immediate return. If you're looking for, if you feel your team's one piece away, you need one more starter. He's the player of those 3 who's most likely to serve as a solid fantasy starter. I still certainly like Ibuka and Burden, but they both look buried right now. I love them as long-term investments. I don't know that I'll be taking them in this Origins format that we're going to draft soon. And when you're talking dynasty rookie drafts, especially as a contender, I would go with Harvey.
I think I'd lean Ibuka because I think that Harvey could probably hit this year, then hit next year, but then we're already like we have the 24-year-old conversations already right now. Then we're gonna have the 25-year-old conversations, and then if once he turns 26, I mean he's gonna be dead, essentially from a dynasty perspective. So I feel like taking Ibuka might be better. That yes, you are a contender, so Ibuka's production this year might not necessarily help, but his value feels so insulated that I've been calling him this year's JSN essentially, to where you're gonna have to wait a year, and that, but the value just feels so insulated because then if Mike Evans moves on next year or even retires because he's a free agent at the end of the year, if Godwin doesn't look as strong, there's an avenue here for Ibuka to really gain value without even needing all that production behind him, to where Harvey feels like the only way that he could even maintain his value is if he actually produces. Because then we're going to be like, if he rushes for like 800 yards and 6 touchdowns this year, then he's going to be 25 next year. Like we're going to have a really hard conversation about his dynasty value next year, to where Ibuka doesn't even really need to do all that much. And if certain situations around him open things up for him, that might be better. I'd rather maybe just draft Ibuka, and then can you go buy James Conner for cheaper to contend this year? Can you buy Tony Pollard for cheaper this year to contend? That might be a better play for me if I was Vic in the late first here.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate that. I think there's always veteran running backs that you can target that are cheaper in trade markets than they really should be. I definitely don't mind that. And I mean, I get the JSN comp. We said the same thing about Rome Odunze last year, and I think that ended up working out, in a similar way. We'll see what his sophomore season looks like, if he can have the type of breakout that JSN did. But I mean, if you remember a year ago, JSN, his value tanked, and people were calling him a bust, and we saw the trade value, the ADP tumbled big time. We haven't quite seen the same with Rome Odunze. He's mostly maintained his value this offseason, at least so far. Maybe the addition of Burden will impact that a little bit, but I think there's a chance with Burden especially, but maybe even with Ibuka as well, that this time next year you're able to buy those guys cheaper than they are right now.
That's possible. Do you think the JSN drop and then consequently his massive year 2 breakout and success and rise in value, you think that could be contributing to Odunze's holding value? Because we just, everybody was saying that Odunze was just this year's JSN, and we saw how that played out with JSN. So now we're artificially raising Odunze's value, and have been for the past couple of months, thinking that he's just going to do what JSN's doing. I'm wondering, is that something that might also happen for Ibuka, or are we going to course correct again if Odunze maybe doesn't break out this year because of all the new additions? And I'm wondering, I could see that going either way now that you say that now.
Yeah, I do think that's part of what is helping Rome keep that dynasty value at a relatively lofty spot as he has. I mean, the other part of it, honestly, is just the Bears hype. We did this last offseason with the addition of Williams and Odunze, the signing of Keenan Allen and even DeAndre Swift. We were hyped about DeAndre Swift even, and they've done it again with adding more pieces to that offense, focusing on the offensive line through free agency and a couple of trades. So we're like we're in general getting excited about the Bears offense. So I think those two things are definitely big factors on keeping Odunze's dynasty value, pretty high and essentially in the same range as it was a year ago when he was a rookie. As far as kind of the outlook on those other receivers, I mean, that's what we're trying to do with every pick we make. And I think you have to decide, I'm seeing people play Dynasty in two very different ways now. Kind of still with that long term. And when I say long term, I mean, I'm talking even like a year from now. How am I feeling about these guys? Kind of what you were talking about. A year from now, we might not be liking Harvey so much if he's 25, but we still really want those young receivers. So many people, though, are playing essentially a redraft game in a dynasty league, and they're only focused on this year. So, it's almost tough to answer that type of question, Harvey versus Ibuka. If your league is super active and you can trade Harvey after a big game, that's kind of a check in his corner. If you're going to be able to buy low on Ibuka later, if he gets off a slow start, that's another reason to push towards Harvey. If the other managers in your league are playing that short redraft type mentality, that's Harvey. If it's more of what Dynasty was 2, 3, 4 years ago, all of that pushes towards the wide receivers.
This is why you make the big Dynasty bucks, Ryan. You got that insight that nobody else.
I don't know if there are big Dynasty bucks, but it's fun for sure.
Man, we're still waiting on just one more person to fill this draft.
One more, come on, jump in. Addison, I wish you could jump in here.
I would if I could. They told Connor that Pennsylvania was coming soon.
Have you considered moving so you can play FastDraft?
I have considered, Maryland, I believe, is legal, and I could drive about an hour south and be in Maryland. So, if I hop in a car and we're still waiting an hour from now. I did debate it, and I think it's legal in Ohio. That's like 3 hours, west. So that's probably a little too far.
Yeah.
Maryland
draft is pretty fun. I don't know if it's a 3-hour drive, but no, maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Jamie's in Ohio, so yeah, you're in here, Jamie? Are you waiting? You still got one slot to fill in yours? I think that's how that works. If we just get the first 10 people, they're all in the same league in this. I don't think they like queue different drafts.
I hope so.
One more person. Yeah, he's in waiting.
Yeah.
This has been by far the longest wait possible. I mean, when Connor and I were going, Connor would start he would enter a contest and then we would go live like how we did. And if there's a couple people left, then we got in within a few minutes. And then we even had enough time to where after that draft, we did another one and we would sit in the queue and wait for like 10, 15 minutes for the second one. And then we draft that one. This is by far the longest wait any of this is possibly taken.
Yeah. Friday afternoon, these guys are ready for the weekend. I think
apparently
we'll get somebody else in here.
What about we got Rice Cake Randy in here. He's asking if Barkley's worth the 103 and a 26 first.
I mean, that's where the value's at. I would not pay that. I wouldn't pay that for 7. I think he's 27-year-old running back. So I don't blame the Barkley manager for that ask. But no, I would not give that for Barkley.
I would not either. Especially if there was some possible, like if that's a super flex league and there was some possible way that Cam Ward went at the 102, or maybe Travis Hunter goes at the 102 if it is one quarterback or even super flex, and you get Hampton at the 1.03, then it's Hampton in a first for Saquon. Like that to me is too much. Even, if you just want to say that that's Travis Hunter or Tet McMillan at the 1.03, I still think that that's too much when you involve a 26 first, no matter where it is and no matter how much everybody seems to hate the 2026 class, which that might be our next conversation. Ryan, are you still buying 26 firsts?
I mean, I'm pretty much always buying picks because, the opinions on these classes change so much, certainly this far out, but Yeah, when you look at the class, at the potential class, I think there are some concerns. We heard reports from anonymous scouts, and we know how valuable that is about the the lack of impact wide receivers potentially in this 26 class. All of the running backs, almost all of them, except for your Penn State boy Hampton, or not Hampton, sorry, Singleton. All of them basically came out this year. So 26 is not looking great, but I'd still be buying, especially if there's any kind of discount.
I typed that in our company Slack channel. I just said, somebody please join a FastDraft Origins contest right now. Please, so we can get through this. Yeah, I made a video on the channel talking through some of the top prospects for the 2026 class, and I came away higher than I expected to be, I think, with some of the prospects that we currently view as top prospects in the class. Obviously, the wide receiver class looks rough, really bad.
Right.
Or at least the production is not there for basically anyone. Jordan Tyson, I think, is the most interesting guy. You got, Singleton, Eric Singleton, I think is his name, and then Kevin Concepcion. There's a couple names. Wide receiver or the running back class looks great. The quarterback class, I think, is definitely very interesting. It could be a possible repeat, I think, of 2021 in the sense of maybe not like having a Trevor Lawrence in that class, but the amount of depth that we had in that class. Obviously, it didn't really pan out for almost anybody for that overall class. But I think we're going to have a handful of very interesting quarterback names that could all be first-round picks in Superflex leagues. Plus, you get another, 3 or 4 running backs. There will be some wide receivers in there, of course. Like, that's a first round. And I feel pretty solid about the top 8 or 10 players now, not even including the fact of, if we have a quarterback kind of come out of nowhere, a wide receiver that comes out of nowhere, a running back that comes out of nowhere. Those happen all the time. Like Caleb Johnson this time last year was like not even talked about in a 2-round early mock draft. Maybe he was a late second. That those things change rapidly in college.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a lot of Devy leagues, and of course we do rookie drafts, and so many of the players, Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, those guys are rostered already, obviously from previous Devy years, but every year you're going to see those guys slip through. Caleb Johnson is one. RJ Harvey certainly is another. So those guys are going to be in rookie drafts, even of your Devy leagues. Matthew Golden, another one. Jackson Dart, even.
Tyler Warren. I bet probably nobody cared about Tyler Warren up until this year.
Right. I mean, most of those guys are available, at least in my rookie drafts, and we have relatively deep Devy rosters. So, yeah, I mean, just the point is that every year we see those surprise slip through and become, if not first rounders in the NFL draft, then at least first rounders in Dynasty rookie draft.
I saw, I think it was Matt Miller said that he was beginning his early scouting for 2026. And he mentioned about how he wasn't going to look at Arch at all in this early process until essentially it seems like he might declare if he even does declare, which seems highly unlikely. But Matt also mentioned that he wouldn't be shocked if Arch was a 2028 because he still has 3 more years of eligibility, I believe, technically.
Yeah.
So Matt, as I think that was just his subjective opinion, but he wouldn't be surprised if Arch was a 2028 guy as well, which I think a lot of people are buying the 27s for, him and Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams and, that crop.
Yeah.
But if 2028 might be open to a lot of people in their leagues right now, if you're, opening up picks that are 3 years down the road, that might be something that you try to just see if you could sneak 1 or 2 away with rookie fever. And
yeah, that's a little scary. I mean, I have heard a lot of people suggest that Manning will not be part of this 2026 class, that he would stay at Texas beyond this coming season. but the 2028 thing is a little scary. And I mean, Matt Miller of ESPN he's a Texas fan. Um, he's got a little insight there, I would imagine. So I don't know, just selfishly, Dynasty player and a NFL fan. I hope he's wrong. I want to see Arch Manning as soon as we can, but yeah, I guess we'll wait and see.
Oh my gosh,
Look out.
we got in.
We got the 3 pick.
We got the 3. So who are you thinking here? Because it's going to start, and this thing's going to start flying. So obviously Genty's going to go. Are we assuming Genty and Hampton are the first 2 picks?
I think so. And then it just depends on how much value quarterback production. And I mean, we're essentially, we basically know Ward is going to be the starter. There we go. Oh, we get Hunter. Yeah, I'm gonna go Hampton here. It's tough to pass on Ward in that production, but I'll go Omar and Hampton at the 103. Yeah. And again, that's the debate between the, kind of the dynasty mind versus that more short-term redraft mentality.
There might be some like, are you at all concerned with Hampton with splitting with Najee? Because at least from a 2025 perspective, like if he's a guy that, I think of J.K. Dobbins' rookie year, that he had that phenomenal end of season stretch, but seasonally he wasn't that great up until maybe about week 11 or so. Whereas Cam Ward's going to start from day 1. So that to me, like, I'm not arguing against the Omarion Hampton pick. I would have also picked Omarion Hampton, but I think that would just be something to take note of.
It absolutely is. I mean, it's, you talked about Najee earlier a little in the Steelers conversation. We go to see the second wide receiver there, Tet, come off the board. We saw a contract that Najee got. It wasn't much. There were very few teams rumored interested in him. And then they used their first rounder on Hampton. So yeah, maybe it's a slow start for Hampton there. But I mean, I don't mean slow start like this season. I mean like the first month, right? Like, it's a little Najee heavy through week 5 or 6 or something like that. But I definitely think we'll get Hampton emerging as the guy there pretty early.
100% agree.
This is there we go. Loveland. Yeah. We still have Tyler Warren available. I mean, if you're looking at the top list, Jaden Higgins, possible wide receiver 2 in Houston. They got the Twin Towers there. Tyler Shuck, Scattaboo. Oh, there we go. Tyler Warren goes. Shuck is, I mean, all of these guys, we're already kind of to the risky category. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with that quarterback production. We may never see Derek Carr in New Orleans again, honestly.
Yeah. I think for me, it was between him and going Scattaboo, because I think Scattaboo locks down that early 2-down roll.
Yeah. This is the third round reversal format, so it's we're 8 picks away. We don't get the corner here.
Well, I did find it funny. Brad from McKinney, he's in here. He said, "I did not mean to pick Hunter over Hampton at that 2 spot."
Oh, we got the gift. It just, I mean, I would have been torn on Hunter versus Cam Ward if he had taken Hampton.
Yeah, maybe we should try to do this one week where we get like 9 other people in here that are all thrown in here, but they take really bad picks, and then they let us take all the good guys, and then we win like the $5,000 prize or whatever it is.
What could go wrong? Everybody would be okay with that. We're almost back on the clock here. Milrow, of course, kind of interesting format, but who knows if he's getting work. I mean, you're 2 of the guys in the 3rd round that may or may not even play. Right behind Yeah,
Jaden
Samson
Blue's
goes
there.
there actually. So yeah, we're up. Jaden Blue, kind of interesting. I said I would take him in the 3rd round if he was there. So I guess that's what I'll do. Jaden Blue in round 3 to go with Shuck and
They're
Omar
gonna
and
be up again
Hampton.
soon.
We do get the corner here. Kind of see some options. Heard some good things already about Elikai Minor in Tennessee that he could see slot work right away. There was a concern. He fell quite a bit further than maybe expected. So DJ Giddens, that was the other one. We talked about those running backs who could potentially be RB2s right away. Giddens is one of those for sure.
I think I'd be looking at Alec here if it were me. I think because
what Jarko Center
as the RB3 on his own team.
Oh, I don't know if he's the RB3. I think he might be the RB2.
So? Ahead of Corum.
Ahead of Corum, yeah. I mean, why take him if you feel good about Corum?
I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter got back in the 5th. You got 5 seconds though, so
all right. I made a pick. Impulse pick. Jarquez Hunter. Maybe that was the Dynasty. The Dynasty brain took over on that one, but
hey, listen, I won't ever fight back on Jarquez Hunter. I love him a lot. Like he popped instantaneously in my modeling system, and I was like, yes, Jarquez Hunter. Don't love the landing spot, though.
He's so different. He's so different from the other guys there.
That's true. That is true. That's kind of how I feel about Brashard Smith, though. There, he's at the top.
Yep.
Now I want Jarquez Hunter to be a thing. Q. Oh, Will Howard. No. Yep. Tesla, the 3rd rounder. They paid like 7/3 to move up to get him.
They traded up to get him. That's got much earlier draft capital than anyone expected, but you're right. Even more impressive was or more noteworthy, I guess, was what they paid to get up there. I don't know.
Oh, Jamie's I don't know what to do with Howard. Hearing me talking about him, saying he might get starts.
We too much pre-draft talk. We've got a running back heavy squad here.
You got 3 guys queued up, and we're 3 away. Are you hoping for any one of these 3 particular?
I mean, I think James and Etienne kind of have similar paths. They look the RB3. I think they're both talented enough to end up as the RB2. So again, it kind of comes down to the offense you like better. I like Saban's system much better, so that's the one I'm going with. I'll go Jordan James here. Honestly, I mean, Garindo played his last season at Louisville, and I got to watch quite a bit of him. I just don't think he's anything special. I know he popped a little bit in some opportunity he had last year, but I think he's just a guy. Honestly, I think Jordan James is just a guy as well. Like, I mean, he's kind of a do-it-all, but nothing, no elite trait. So I think he could have a role, and that's just about the best backfield you would want anybody falling into.
Of course, especially with all the whatever they put in the water over there, all these injuries. Now you're up in 1 pick, so you got one last guy to throw a dart on.
All right, it's I'm going Krosky Merritt, and we'll just go almost all running backs here. 7th rounder to the Commanders. I thought they would invest a higher pick into the running back position, but this was a guy kind of late. I was kind of late on the scene with him. Heard about him really on a podcast with Evan Silva, and then we talked about him a little bit. Dan Myler, my buddy on the DLF podcast, checked him out. Really, really liked what he saw. So I thought he might go undrafted, honestly, but gets the 7th round draft capital in what I think is a great spot. We'll see if Austin Eckler is done or not.
There goes Phil Moff
3
off the
picks
board.
here. I was looking at him and already having
Blue.
Yeah, already having blue. I just stayed away.
So there we go. There, Jamie, fastest drafter. Look at that.
Yeah, I might have been the slowest drafter, actually. Oh, no, I wasn't, but it was close, probably.
You were 7th.
Yeah,
So
Jamie jumped in and helped us out and was fast. We like that.
Yeah. Well, all right. We finally got through. It only took us like 50 minutes, 50 minutes of pre-draft conversation before we do a 5-minute, actually, this 9-minute draft. Man, it took us long enough to get there, but we got there. So yeah. So I'm not sitting here going to do another one.
All right. I think next week. Maybe I'll be back next week.
Yeah. Because I think a lot more people appreciate your insight on these rookies a lot too. So we'll try to get 2 in next week. If we get, I think, a faster queue for that first one, then we can run a couple of them. So yeah. So I think this is where we're gonna end it here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, for asking some questions, especially for hopping in and drafting with us. So if anybody is curious on this fast draft format that we just drafted, you can download the app on both iPhone or Android. Use the promo code DLF. You'll get a deposit match for up to $50, and then you can get going on this Origins contest on the Flex 4, which is just normal fantasy football. It's got all the players in it, so the top pick would be Jamar and Saquon and all that. There's an IDP one, which is just defensive players only. Very, very interesting formats here with this fast draft app. So appreciate everybody for hanging around. Thank you so much, Ryan, for hopping on. And I would love to have you back on next week and we can run it again. But until then,
absolutely.
Guys, until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll catch you guys in another video. Peace.